So welcome to Bunny's Designs. This is a live show, impromptu Saturday. I'm putting my Derwent watercolour pencils into a colour book, my little book of watercolours. So this particular one is a new one. It's a photo album by Paper Chase, and this one is £1.50, and it says it's a 24 pocket photo album. And I've kind of, my original one, she's here, this one has got kind of squished. There's quite a lot in there now, so I thought I'd make another one. This particular one is for a present for somebody, but there's an old photo album, which is what they used to look, the vintage ones, and this particular one has black, so you could put the colours in this way. I've actually cut, because this one is a top loading where you put your photograph, I'm cutting them open, so I've got the plastic loose. And this particular one, the pockets actually slip the photographs in that way. So part one, this is part 4, I think. Part 1 had how to make the pages of your photo album, and then you'd attach the colour here, and it's protected by the plastic, so you can shut it when it's wet and nothing's going to happen to it. So although it's quite a small square, there's quite a lot of colour in there. And my original one, the squares were even smaller. They were smaller squares. They were my Derwent metallic pencils, and they work in the same way. So this is the colour that you can get, 10 shades from each square. And that little tiny dot there was what I used to make the colour swatch. So I have a colour swatch, so I know I can get these very pale, gorgeous colours from these squares. I'm making bigger squares. One thing I haven't done is done a watercolour swatch. I'm not sure whether I leave that to the person who gets it, because that's the kind of the nicest bit. You know what they do. But I'll have a think about that. So I'm using a Staedtler permanent liner 0.5, because I want to label them, and I'm using a little bit of card or thick paper, and if you put that underneath, it allows you to have a bit of a guide. You don't want something, sometimes a ruler is a bit heavy, but you could use a ruler or a bone folder. You just want something to give you a bit of a guide, because you're going to keep this will last a good 2 to 5 years, if not more. So you really want to make a nice job of it, because if you scribbled it roughly, it would drive you nuts. Now my writing is not particularly very good, but it's just nice to have neat. I don't think my other one was quite so neat. I decided to have bigger squares, so one colour, the name is for the bottom one, and the left one is for the top. But I didn't think it looked as neat, that, so I've got 8 colours on this page. But you have to determine whether you want either, if you've only got a tin of 40, you could have 40 full pages, or you could have 2 colours together, either the yellow and a red to make the oranges, and so you'd have some squares together. There's lots of different combinations, and probably the last video of the series I may show what to do if you've got not many pencils and crayons. So any water-based crayons will do. I've got part 3, I think, was part 1 was putting these tubes in here. So any watercolour tubes, not acrylics, watercolours will do. And they've been out for a couple of days. I did this 2 days ago, so they're dried. So that will be going on the top. And then one of the other pages, part 2, I think, or part 3, was Neocolour 2s. And I bobbed it somewhere in here. So we've got the same squares. They're near colour 2s, and these are Derwents. So you can put your Neos together, and so they're a wax-based watercolour crayon, and these are a watercolour pencil. About 3 layers it takes for each one. So this is part 4, and this is putting my Derwent watercolour pencils into my little book of watercolours. This will probably work with the Prisma watercolours and the Caran d'Ache, because they have a bit of a waxy texture. If they're shiny at the end, they've got a bit of a waxy texture. But I will be doing a video at the end, towards the end, of any water-based pencils and see how good they do. I know the Derwents are fairly good. So we want number 5. We've done 1 to 4, so now we've got 5. Again, you can determine whether you want to go up and down with the colour or along and then across the bottom. So I used the bone folder, but you could use a ruler. And because this is pencil, the lines, I'm catching a little bit of the graphite into the colour, but once you get to the darker colours you won't notice, so you've got to be a little bit careful with your yellows. So this is number 5, this is straw yellow. So try to be just gentle, and if you keep turning the pencil you won't ruin the nib point too much. So I just keep, so that's 1 layer, and then I turn it round and I go another layer. So because you've got to be a bit careful around the edge, so you could do the edge and then be a bit freer. Try not to pick up any pencil if I can. And you see that eventually there aren't any pieces of white. Now this is extra wet strength or good quality sketchbook paper. This isn't watercolour paper. For goodness sake, don't do it on watercolour paper, because your colour will soak in when you wet it, and we want it to dry and sit back on the top, and it won't do that with watercolour. So a sea white extra wet strength is perfect, but a good quality sketchbook paper that you can do a light wash on, because basically that's what you're doing. So eventually you'll get dust and bits. So when you get dust and bits, it's time to stop, because you're just wasting your pencil, and then you've got that lovely bit of a sheen, and that's completely coated. So, and you really want to keep clean because they are watercolours. So I put that on there, put the pencil in front of you, so you get the right pencil and the right number, because you won't believe how difficult it is to get that wrong. Straw yellow, and that's number 5. So that can go out of the way, and then we've got the next one. Put the top back on there. Now I have done this in front of the TV, put it on the radio, go sit in the garden and do it. If your hands hurt, I would do a page, do 6 to 8, do a page and then stop. Either give up for the day or go do something else, and then come back in a few hours and do another one. If you're used to colouring with pencils, you probably can do them all at once, but pencils, we're not nipping too hard and we're not pressing down too hard either, but you do need a good soft angle. So again, we can see there's some little bits of white showing through, and 3 coats is normally ample. Oh, have I just done that way? Go back that way. And then you can square the edges off if you want, and you get a lovely soft layer. And you might want to just very carefully tease it up to the corners and then we've got a really nice layer. When it's shiny like that, you know that's a full sheet. There's no point doing another layer because you just get dust. So again, it's not a difficult one. It's a bit like making a cake, a Christmas cake. You know, you think at first, oh, I can't make that, because there's so many ingredients. You just have to do it methodically. So we want number 6, which is deep CAD 6. So I'll just do a couple more. So this one is middle chrome 7. Good idea to put the top on your pen as well. Wrong thing. I don't think it would work with cardboard. So the next one is middle chrome. Sorry, that's number 8. We want number 7. Naples yellow is number 7, so we put number 7. So I'm doing them in the colour order of the manufacturers. So the Derwents, this is what the Derwents are. And you really want a good coating because the actual pencil protects the page as well. So you've got the best of both worlds. So that's 2. So again, normally the third one, you do fill out all those little white areas. And this sketchbook feels flat, but obviously it isn't. Now you can get one with a coating on it, so you can use it with water-based products, and that's the best one. But definitely not watercolour paper, because the colours will just soak into it. And again, I just want to kind of neaten that up a little bit here. But you'll see soon, you'll find dust. This is the 4th layer, and just getting dust. So it's time to stop, turn that round, and label it. And that's number 7. And the reason I'm labelling it is, I've done it in the wrong place. Oh, I've done it in the wrong place. Never mind. I label it in the middle and put the colours on the outside, but that's okay. You can, again, you can do that how you want. The reason I did it this way, because I did it the other way last time, is if you have 2 colour swatches next to each other, you can mix them together. So actually you can do this way. It'll probably look neater, but never mind, it's labelled. And then this one, instead of having the colour swatch at the end, it'll be at the top there. So each colour swatch for each one will be at the top. I just thought it'd be easier to work out that they weren't, but it's fine. It's okay. And again, the last one is number 8. So if you had, if you only have a set of 40, you could put 4 squares instead of 8, or you could put 6 squares. It all depends on how long you want it to last, what products you have. If you have the set of 72 and you don't have anything else and you just want your watercolour pencils, you see, by turning it ever so often you get a neater, sharper edge, and that's what goes in that little crease. And then across. So thanks for joining me. This is part 4, but it is a live stream, impromptu Saturday. It's live in the UK. Coming towards tea time. We've just fed the dogs. It's been a bit manic. But thank you if you're watching on YouTube. If you'd like to like and subscribe. If you've got any comments, you want to see any particular things again, or if you've got any questions, just pop them in the little box below. Please like and subscribe, because it means quite a lot to me. It gives me a bit more confidence. and it proves people like it, and like what I'm doing. So we've got middle chrome 8. So we can leave these pencils at home, not worry that they're going to get broken. There's a fair bit of colour on there. So we've got our light yellows to our mid chromes. You might want to do them in your own colour order. So you might want gold down here and the pale one at that end, but I've just followed Derwent's colours. And that's the first page. All I would do now is probably use the Derwent number 1 brush and a little tiny corner and then across. So you're going to get a stronger colour, and then you're going to get paler and paler and paler, because we want 10 shades on here, 10 tones. So each, although there's only 8 colours on there, potentially there's 80 even without colour mixing. Once you start mixing a bit of this with a bit of that on the plastic, then you've got hundreds of colours. But you should get 10 different shades from each one, and they should look... Where's the pink one? I don't know, my yellow one's on her. It should look something like that. So, oops, get rid of the plastic. So your colour swatch, you start and you go darker, darker and paler, and that's the only bit that you use. So when you think of all this colour we've got here, that's all we've used, about the size of a pinhead. So we've got a lot of colour on there, a lot of full strength. Medium strength is quite nice, but lovely soft pale colours coming from this square. And when you normally look at a pencil, you only think of the end, the pure colour, not the pale colours. So for every pencil you've got, you can get 10 tones out of it. So that one, so part 1 was the tubes, part 2 was the tubes, part 1 was putting the paper in, and this is again photocopy paper, nothing expensive, because it's not going to be rived. It doesn't have to be tie-vac, it doesn't have to be duct tape. It's just paper folded with a nice neat crease with a bone folder, or the corner of a pencil will do, or the handle of scissors will do, to get a really nice crisp edge. That will fold, so that colour goes there, protected by this plastic. This colour will go here, protected by this plastic, and then the next one will go on the other side. So that was protected. Then we've got a page of colour. So 2 pieces of sticky tape across will attach it, then you can take it off and put it back on, and then this plastic will protect it. And then on this side we'll have another piece of another page. So we've got colour protected, colour protected. As long as you have the plastic between, that's fine. I'm going to show you how to get extra space out of your little photo album, but this is to make it, it's got about 50 pages we can get out of this with 24 sleeves. So that's going to look quite nice. And it's going to be not too much chunkier than it is now, and it's going to have a nice bubble on the end of it, so it'll look really neat. And this hard plastic will protect all those pages. And then the next time I'll show you how to put a label on the edge, because this particular one is just shy of every page. So I've put in my quite large one, I've put labels on because I have a lot of colours. So I've pushed up. So again, that's my sleeve. This is the Gansai Tambi watercolours, and I'm pleased to say that they've copied my idea and they've made little puddles, because this is puddles of colour. These have been here a long time, and I love the fact that you can use the greens from the Gansai Tambi watercolours with the Derwent watercolour reds. You don't have to stick with the same make, so I'm switching from one to the other, or it could be the neo yellows. And I love that little book for that reason. You couldn't physically get all these colours out around you. It's impossible. There's 100 and some neos, there's 72 ink 10s, 72 Derwent watercolours, there's the peerless that I've got in here as well, which is 22 bottles. I've got, I think there's 2, 4, 6, 8, there's 24 tubes of professional, but the professional ones always remain tacky, they never dry, not like the Cotmans, and I think it's to do with professional watercolours. But there's the neos in there, there's the peerless are in there as well. So it's a lovely little travel book, but mine's looking a bit scruffy now, so I thought I would make a new one. And I've picked an old photo album that I picked up for £1, and so this is what mine was stuck in with, and I've just taken them off. They're easy to take off if you just use 2 pieces of double-sided tape. So this is what my colours will look like, and because this one is a top loading one, I've cut round the edge. I've cut round the edge, and I've left the middle one, the last one, because that's going to be the hinge, and I can get 2 colours in between then. So I can have my colours like this, and 1 piece of plastic, turn over, 1 piece of plastic, and I can see all my colours together. So I shall cut, I've cut this one, oh, I haven't cut this one, I cut this one and this one, and I can put extra colours in. So my little book is going to look quite fat, but it does have quite a good, probably an inch here. There's an inch that's been left to put lots of photographs in, so we're just putting a little bit thicker than photographs, and then I shall put a hair bobble. It's the right size. You can use an elastic band, but a hair bobble are prettier. And then I'm going to put all my colours in, so you can put 6 colours on a page, you can put 12 colours on a page, or I think there's 10 there. So the tubes, I only have 6 colours, but I made the orange, I made 3 purples, you can just see there's a little bit of a difference, 3 purples, and I just took the top off. This is part 2, I think, just squeezing the colour on. I made 3 greens and 3 olives, so that's going to give me quite a lot of colour to do that with. And I do have a lot of tubes, so I might do a lot of pages for that further into this book. But I love the fact that I've got all my water-based products in my little colour book, and the pencils and the neos and all the other things, and the tubes and the little bottles, which are difficult to take. They're all at home, because I don't want a full bottle, I just want a tiny amount of colour. So you can put in all you want. So this is the end of part 4, and this was putting the Derwent watercolour pencils into your little book of watercolours, which is technically a photo album made with printer paper and good quality sketchbook paper. Thanks for watching.